Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving deep into the life of a truly fascinating figure from the New Testament. Someone who is part of Jesus' inner circle but often gets overshadowed by other apostles. We're talking about James, the son of Zebedee. Now, you might be thinking, wait, which James? And that's a great question because the New Testament mentions a few people named James. We're focusing on the one who was the brother of John, one of the first disciples called by Jesus. So, let's set the scene. James was a fisherman, working with his father, Zebedee, and his brother, John, on the Sea of Galilee. This wasn't a hobby, this was their livelihood. A tough, demanding job. They were partners with Simon Peter and his brother Andrew. Imagine the salty air, the rough nets, the early mornings. This was James's world. One day, Jesus walks by, sees them mending their nets, and says, "Follow me." Just like that. And what do James and John do? They leave their father, their boat, their entire life behind, and follow him. This immediate, decisive action tells us so much about James's character right from the start. There's a boldness, a readiness for something more that's just undeniable. From that moment on, James becomes a key player. He, along with Peter and his brother John, formed Jesus' inner circle. Think about the most pivotal, intimate moments of Jesus' ministry. Who was there? Peter, James, and John. When Jesus raises Jairus' daughter from the dead, a powerful and private miracle, James is one of the 3 disciples present. He's not just part of the crowd. He's a privileged witness to the divine. Then there's the Transfiguration. This is one of the most mystical and awe-inspiring events in the Gospels. Jesus takes Peter, James, and John up a high mountain, and there he is transfigured, his face shining like the sun, his clothes dazzling white. Moses and Elijah appear, and they hear the voice of God himself. Can you even imagine witnessing that? This wasn't something the other 9 apostles saw. This experience was reserved for this core group, and James was right there, at the heart of it all. This shows the incredible level of trust and closeness Jesus had with him. But James wasn't perfect. He was human, with a fiery personality that earned him and his brother John a nickname from Jesus himself. Bowen, which means sons of thunder. We see this fiery nature flare up a few times. Remember the time a Samaritan village didn't welcome Jesus? James and John asked, "Lord, do you want us to call fire down from heaven to destroy them?" Whoa, talk about intense. Jesus, of course, rebuked them. It's a raw, human moment that shows James was passionate, maybe a bit impetuous, but his heart was fiercely loyal to Jesus. There's another famous story that reveals this ambitious side. Their mother, or perhaps they themselves, approached Jesus and asked if James and John could sit at his right and left hand in his kingdom. This caused a bit of a stir among the other apostles, and who can blame them? But Jesus uses it as a teaching moment. He explains that greatness in his kingdom isn't about power and position, but about service and sacrifice. He asks them, "Can you drink the cup I am going to drink?" They confidently reply, "We can." And Jesus tells them they will indeed drink that cup, a chilling prophecy of the suffering they would face for their faith. This conversation is so important. It shows James's ambition, yes, but also his willingness to follow Jesus, no matter the cost. He didn't fully understand what he was signing up for, but his commitment was absolute. The final time we see this inner circle together is in the Garden of Gethsemane, on the night before Jesus' crucifixion. This is the darkest, most agonizing moment. Jesus asks Peter, James, and John to come further into the garden with him, to watch and pray. He is in turmoil, and he turns to his closest friends for support, but they are overcome by exhaustion and grief, and they fall asleep. 3 times, Jesus finds them sleeping. It's a heart-wrenching scene. It shows the limits of human strength, even for someone as zealous as James. It's a reminder that even the most dedicated followers can falter. But it doesn't diminish their love or their ultimate role in the story. After Jesus' resurrection and ascension, the apostles are transformed. The Holy Spirit descends at Pentecost, and these once fearful men become bold preachers of the gospel. James, one of the sons of thunder, is now a leader in the early church in Jerusalem. He's no longer just a follower, but a foundational pillar of this new, burgeoning movement. His voice, his testimony, his leadership would have been crucial in those early, formative years. He had walked with Jesus, witnessed his miracles, heard his teachings firsthand, and even saw him in his glorified state. His eyewitness account would have been incredibly powerful. But remember Jesus' prophecy about drinking the cup of suffering. For James, that prophecy came true sooner than for any of the other apostles. The book of Acts gives us a brief, almost stark account of his fate. Around the year 44 AD, King Herod Agrippa I, wanting to please some of the Jewish leaders who were hostile to the growing Christian movement, decided to crack down on the church. Acts chapter 12 tells us, he had James, the brother of John, put to death with the sword. That's it. One short sentence, no dramatic details, no final speeches, just a cold, hard fact. James, the son of thunder, the witness to the transfiguration, the member of the inner circle, became the very first of the 12 apostles to be martyred. He truly did drink the cup that Jesus spoke of. His journey, which began with such fiery ambition and a call to follow, ended in the ultimate act of sacrifice, sealing his testimony with his own blood. It's a sobering end, but it's also incredibly powerful. James's life wasn't long after Jesus' ministry, but its impact was immense. He wasn't a prolific writer like Paul or his brother John. We don't have an epistle of James, son of Z. His legacy isn't in texts, but in action. His was a legacy of immediate obedience, passionate loyalty, and courageous sacrifice. He dropped his nets without a second thought. He wanted a place of honor, but learned that true honor comes through service. And in the end, he laid down his life for the faith he had embraced on the shores of Galilee. Think about the message that sent to the early church, one of their most prominent leaders, a man who had literally walked and talked with Jesus, was executed for his faith. This could have shattered the movement. Instead, it seems to have galvanized it. It demonstrated the very real cost of discipleship that Jesus had talked about, and it showed that the leaders were willing to pay that price. And his story continues to resonate. For centuries, pilgrims have walked the Camino de Santiago, the way of St. James, a network of routes leading to a shrine in Santiago de Compostela, in Spain, where tradition holds that his remains are buried. Whether or not the historical details of that tradition are precise, the spiritual reality is undeniable. Millions of people, over hundreds of years, have been inspired by the story of this Galilean fisherman to undertake their own journeys of faith, reflection, and transformation. So, the next time you read the Gospels and see the name James, don't just skim over it. Remember the Son of Thunder. Remember the man who witnessed the glory of the Transfiguration and the agony of Gethsemane. Remember the fisherman who left everything to follow a call, and who ultimately became the first of the apostles to give his life for his Lord. His is a story of radical commitment, human weakness, and ultimate sacrifice. A story that reminds us that a life of faith is not always easy, but it is a powerful adventure. What do you find most inspiring about the life of James? Let me know down in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Thanks so much for watching, and if you enjoyed this deep dive, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that bell so you don't miss our next video. See you next time.